Okay, we're going to make paste the way my granny used to make it. Now, you don't use a kettle to boil the water, you use a pot like this. And there's an important reason to do that. And the reason is you can't pour the water out of a kettle fast enough to do this properly. So, the first thing we're going to do is get about 4 cups of water. Now we have some water here, ready to go. And we're going to put about 4 cups of it in here. And set it to boil. So, what's that? Oh, hello. I've got another cup. Now the reason why you want 4 cups is because you don't want to run out of hot water. You probably won't use it all. But if you need more hot water and you don't have it, then that's bad. So you always cook up more hot water than you need. Okay, now I'm going to put this on to boil. And while that's boiling, we're going to prepare the flour and water and get it ready for the cooking. Because this paste is cooked. Okay, now I worked this out so it's basically you're just going to be using 1 cup of flour. My granny used to use a lot more, but I tried to work this out in a recipe and write the recipe down, but it's very difficult to do because it's more done by feel than it is by a recipe. Anyways, so now we have about 1 cup of flour in the bowl here, and now we're going to put let's put about 1 cup of water in to start with. So it's 1 to 1. Okay, there we go. Okay, and put the lid back on the flour. This is just cheap old white flour. Okay. Now we have a wooden spoon. Good old wooden spoon. Alright. And we mix it up. Mixing up the paste. Yes. Well, you know, I didn't have an electric mixer. She always made really good paste. So, I don't bother using an electric mixer. I suppose you could, but I mean, why make it more complicated? It's a simple recipe, it's a simple thing. So you just work the water into the flour like this. Now, we're starting to get a consistency here. And I'm telling you that there's not enough water in there. Because this is the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to look like tapioca pudding. So if you've ever seen tapioca pudding, then you'll know the type of consistency we're going for. Which means that it's kind of a little lumpy, but it's thick. It's just like yeah. I wouldn't say it was like porridge really. Porridge is a little stiffer. If it was like runny porridge, I'd say yeah, okay. But really what you want is you want to you mix it up like that. There we are. And you see our water's starting to boil over here now. And that's good. Now, the trick is, what we're going to do here is we're going to cook the flour and water in the bowl with hot water. And that's why you have to have really hot water. So you let the water boil, and then you let it come to a real rolling boil. Now, let's see this. Well, you know what? You see that? You see? That's just a little thick. That's just a little thick. I can see that. Okay, so we're going to add just a little bit more water to it. Because if it's too thick, then you can't get the hot water going through it completely. And by the time you do manage to mix the hot water in completely, then it's cooled down too much. Now you can't cook the flour and water directly. Well, you can if you use a double boiler, but it takes a long time and you got to keep stirring it, and oh, it's lousy. It takes about 45 minutes or an hour to cook it in a double boiler like that. And the trouble is, with the heat coming up from the bottom like that, you wind up getting a crust in the bottom, and then it doesn't. The paste doesn't form properly, and it's a disaster. So what happens? Well, if you make it and it doesn't work, then you just throw it away and you make another batch, because you can't fix it. You can try. I mean, if you want to try with getting the double boiler and putting it on the heat and beating it and stuff, but if you do it right the first time, then you're all right. Now we got it. Now you see lumps and everything. You see how it's runny. It's a lot runnier now than it was. It wants to be like that. See, now I can mix it around, and it follows itself. It chases itself around and fills it in. Okay, so that's going pretty good there. Now, reposition that camera a little bit here. Okay. Now what's going to happen? We get the water boiling really good here. Okay, so we're going to pour about half to 2/3 of the water into the flour and mix at the same time. So you got, if you're not capable of rubbing circles in your tummy and patting your head, then this is probably not a good thing for you to do. Okay, so there it is, and you have your hot water there. Now when you pour this in here, you'll see it turn. You'll see the paste cook and become sort of transparent when it does that. So this is the way it works. I'm going to go like this, and now we're just going to take it right off the heat and right into it, just like this. And then you mix it. Now you can see that it's turning in the bowl. You can see the streaks. Can you see the streaks? See, it's turning. The uncooked is white, and the cooked, it sort of turns transparent. And this is great paste because it won't leave a white residue like flour does. This is what my granny used to make my grandpa every night. Before she went to bed, she'd make him a bucket of paste on a big old oil stove, and then she'd put the bucket on the back of the stove, and it'd be hot in the morning, and when Pop would come out and go to work, and he's a paper hanger by trade, so he'd take the bucket of paste out with him, and he'd go out and he'd hang paper all day, and when he'd come home at night, his bucket would be empty. And then I would wash it out, and she'd make him another batch for them tomorrow. Now that's good. Now I don't need to add any more water to that. You can see how it's becoming quite thick and gloopy. There. But you know what? No, I don't know. Maybe I've had just a little bit more. Now, as it cools, it's going to thicken. Here, let's shut that stove off. As it cools, it will thicken. So, you want a Tupperware container or some kind of a sealed container, a margarine tin or something, to put it in after it's cooled. Now, I told you that this was done by feel more than by measurement. And so now I'll tell you how we're going to test this. You test your paste. You put it on your finger like this, and you go like that, and you rub it. You rub your fingers together, and you can feel it. You can feel that it's slick. You can feel that it's slippery. And you can feel that it's got body, and you can't feel any grains or nothing. It's smooth and slick. That way you know that your paste is in good shape. Now we could, if we were in a hurry, we could go right to work and start papering with this, but it's better off to let it cool down completely, and then put it in our container and get it ready to go. Now there's something else that we can do. Because I know what you're saying. You're saying, well, yeah, it seems like an awful lot of paste you're making there. Well, that's right, it is. It's a lot of paste. But you know what? Believe it or not, this is a food product. This is a food product because it's made with flour, and flour is a food. And if we don't treat it right, it's going to spoil prematurely. So, we're going to use this and do our paper mache. And then when we're finished with doing our paper mache, we're going to put it in the fridge. And there, it will get cold, and it will keep. And when we bring it out to use it again, it'll be nice and stiff. And sometimes it'll get so stiff, standing in the fridge, so when you bring it out, that you have to add a little bit of water to it. Just a little bit, though. Add a little bit of water to it so that you can make it so that you can mix the stuff. Now, this is the other thing I was going to show you. I have here pine sol, okay? And what you do is you just take a look, a cap of pine sol, just a cap. You don't do a lot. Lysol works good too. Actually, Lysol probably works better. I don't have any right now. And pine sol works as well. So there we go. Now, pine sol goes in there. Now you say, now why are you putting pine sol in there? Because pine sol and Lysol inhibit bacteria growth. And this will make the paste last longer. And instead of it going straight into a bacteria mode, it'll have that little bit, just that little bit of stuff in there, which will, it doesn't affect the paste or the performance of the paste. There we go. Now I have a little container here to put it in, right here. So pop the top off, and now we'll just pour it in there. Now what you can do is you can have two containers, and you can put some in one container and the other in the other container, and then you can freeze one of them. That's another thing about this paste, you can freeze it. So sometimes when I'm making paste, I make up a batch of paste like this. If I don't have a big job to do, then I put it into Ziploc bags, and I squeeze all the air out, so there's just like a half a cup of paste in a Ziploc bag, and then I date it, and then put it in the freezer and freeze it. And you know what? Right now, at this moment, I've got paste that I made last year in my freezer, right now. And I can go over there and get it out and thaw it out. You just let it thaw at room temperature, it'll thaw out in practically no time at all. And I could use it. Yeah, it's a little bit runny when you freeze it, but it still works. And there we go. You see, now there's a lovely pail of paste, all set to go. And it's already starting to cool down. Now you can see here how it's sort of translucent, how you can sort of see the spoon through the paste. You can see through it. And that's the great thing about it. And there's no longer flour. And when it dries, it'll be clear. So, that's how Nana used to make paste. And that's how you should make paste for paper mache, in my opinion. I think to make paper mache objects using raw flour and water is not the right way to do it, if you ask me. Everybody is a product of their environment. Everybody learns as they go through life. So one day somebody will come along and give you a secret that will improve your work like immensely. And you'll go, my goodness, what was I ever doing before? What was I doing before I did that? I can't believe it. This is so much better. And I hope you try out this paste, because I think you'll find out that this is paper mache paste. And you're going to like it. I hope you learned something here. Anyways, there you go. Now this paste.